Every one of us at some point in our lives encounters that one undeniable, unique talent that rises above the rest. My next guest, without a doubt, is that kind of talent. She is one of the most hardworking, diverse, multi-talented, and consistent individual in show business I have ever met. Let's just say she is the business. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Oris Sanctionary, the one and only Lisa Stokke.
Welcome. This is Lisa Stokke.
Thank you, Oris. So good to see you.
You too. Wait a minute. Hvordan har du det?
Jeg har det kjempebra. Hvordan har du det?
Bra.
You've been learning that Norwegian, man.
Oh man, you know it's interesting, right? Lisa, we met, what would you say, 7-8 years ago?
Isn't it even longer now? Isn't it like 10 years ago?
Almost 10 years ago. And here's the funny thing.
Yeah.
We have a campaign. Now, we don't want to really give credit to these people because they ain't going to pay us for this. But anyway, we're just going to go ahead out of good nature of our heart. So Lisa and I met on the campaign shoot. As a lot of you know, the likes of myself and Lisa, we do a lot of, besides our careers and what we do for a living, we get these odd things where we get to shoot for big designers and sometimes big brand. And one of this brand, Lisa and I shot and we met on. Till this very moment as I speak, it's still on big posters in subways, train stations, airports, all over the world. And it's for, I believe, Specsavers.
It's Specsavers.
Specsavers.
We are their most popular photography people in their entire campaign. Me and you, Oris, we are on I can't describe how big these billboards are. It's the biggest billboard I've been on in my entire life. We are covering all of Tottenham Court Road outside the Specsavers shop. Still, me and Oris are still hanging there. Almost 10 years later. On it's got to be 3 by 3 meters or even bigger than that.
It's huge. It's like one of those movie posters, right?
Yeah, it's like a movie poster. And there's me and Oris. I've jumped up on his back, and we're like,
we gotta redo another one.
We gotta recreate it.
Recreate it.
But you gotta tell them who the photographer was, because that was insane.
You people won't believe who this guy is. I think Lisa, you better do the honors.
Okay,
letting everyone know who he is.
He's called Rankin.
Begins with an R.
He's called Rankin, and he's photographed all the top models in the world, which, Oris, you are, but I'm not. And
Stop it.
All the biggest names in modeling. And I've got to tell this one little story before we get into it, because I hugely embarrassed myself on the shoot, because there was I got to explain to all of you watching that when you do a commercial shoot like this, first of all, you've got the clients who are the most important people in the room. And they you don't get to talk to them. You don't get to look at them. They are sitting in nice seating. They have their own catering. Okay, they are like the gods. And we are simply the mere serval people, right?
That's right.
And so that's them. So you've got the client, which is in this case Specsavers. And then you've got all the advertising people who are creating this commercial, who have been hired to do this, who have been paid millions and millions of pounds to do this campaign because it's so huge. And you've got so many people working there for the advertisers. So you've got multiple photographers, multiple lighting guys, multiple stylists. And then all of us actors who are kind of the bottom of the heap on this thing, right? And so there are so many photographers, but they are just there to assist Rankin, who's the top dog. And we were in Rankin's studio. I don't have a clue what he looks like. I don't know who he is, what he looks like. I've never met the guy. So I'm about to do my solo photography, not the ones with Oris, but like by myself. And this guy comes in on a like office chair like this. You know, like he comes gliding in on his office chair with the, and then he goes, hand me the camera to the assistant. And because I'm really polite and I treat everyone the same, I'm like, oh, I haven't met you before today. I'm Lisa. What's your name? I said to him, and he just went, and he looks at the assistant. He's like,
oh my God.
Like, can you get this girl? Like, do you see this? And he goes, I'm Rankin.
No.
And it took me like a second to process this information. And I was like, oh, it's your studio.
Oh my God.
So lovely to meet you. I
it.
had no idea who this guy. Oris had to tell me that, you know, he's like one of the biggest photographers in the whole. He's like Mario Testino. Like he's like you know,
Bruce Weber's.
Oh my God! Yeah. It's
Paolo
like
Reversi.
What you call Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair.
What's she called? For God's sake, she's the most famous.
And a little Annie
Lebowitz.
Lebowitz, yeah.
Like he's like that, right? I'm so embarrassed myself. So I honestly thought they're going to kick me off this thing. But anyway, that's how you and I met.
Yes.
And then it turned out you had a Norwegian wife and I'm from Norway. So we were like, and because you are you, and you are such a huge personality. Like you can put Oris anywhere. And he's the one everyone's going to notice because you're so charismatic. Like people have to fall in love with you. It's impossible to not like adore you straight away. It's true.
But
so
Lisa,
we were like this. We were like besties.
but
were like right in there.
You say that, but you are the same, right? We're very. I think the thing with people like us, I think we're very grateful to be living our life. Because we're living a dream that I heard someone say the other day. Your goal in life is to be in someone's dream and for other people to be in your dream. And at first I was like, that's weird. And then when I understood, when I asked this individual, I said, what did you mean by that? They said, we're living our dream.
Yeah. It's true.
Every time they see people like us, we're constantly smiling.
Sometimes a little nightmare, but mostly a dream.
Right? We live. It's
very privileged.
It is a privilege, right? And we're creating privileges. We're given space to create, right? You, for example, I have to say, Lisa is one of the most down to earth. I've met a lot of down to earth people in my life. I've been very fortunate, but for someone of her caliber, she is. I mean, for people like us to pick up our family and say, we're moving to Norway, we're moving to Oslo. That's for some people, they were like, what? Like, well, people are moving to LA.
Either very brave or crazy, Oris. I don't know what. I haven't yet decided which one it is.
Because you know what? You know, Lisa, like you, I have lived. You lived in the States. I lived in the States. I grew up in New York as a kid. Everything that defined who I am from my childhood was out of New York, was America. Yeah. So and of course, being born in London, growing up in Africa as a kid, coming back to England, moving to the States, then working out of Paris, working out of Milan, working out of places I have never dreamt of in Europe. You got to understand this, right? Then being in a place to meet the likes of these top photographers and not realizing what I was into until people go, who shot that? I go, I don't know, some guy. And they go, some guy. And they look and they go, do you know who that is? And I say this because you and I are the kind of people, we don't worship people. We appreciate and admire people. Yeah. We're not starstruck.
No, and I think that's true. I think, well, it depends. Sometimes I'm a little starstruck, and I can become real tongue-tied if I like get to meet someone who I really like adore. Just because your brain goes, I have so much to tell you. And then,
Yeah. But that's interesting.
But what I think we both mean is that I'm not actually impressed by accolades and talent if that's all you have. But if you are a really interesting person and you're a nice person and you're fun, then, then I'm impressed. Then I'm like, yeah, but I'm never impressed by people who aren't those things. If you are very successful and very talented and everything, but you're an arsehole, I'm absolutely not impressed by you. And I don't want to be around those people.
And we've met a lot of those individuals in this industry.
We have.
But Lisa, first of all, thank you. It's an honor. What a way to kick off the show. I mean, what a way to kick off the show.
I'm so honored I get to be on here, Oris.
Oh, no,
looking at your episodes and the amazing people you've interviewed, I'm like, are you asking me? Actually, really?
Oh, Lisa, stop it. It's amazing because Lisa is also one of the most incredible mothers of all mothers. I've met a lot of incredible mothers, but I say this with a heavy heart simply because to do what we do and to be a father and a mother is the most difficult and the most challenging things in the world, because our kids are very demanding. And when we met, just the way you were with your kids and my kids, and you just took them in like one big. It's like I watched my son and my daughter. Everybody was just like, Mama. And me and my wife, we sat there, like, oh man, we got a break.
Yeah, but your kids though are so cute. You should one day introduce them to your audience, just because these two. So Oris has a son and a daughter, and like me, he's got an older boy and a little girl. So Lucas and Sophia, and oh my word, they are honestly so lovely, because I love kids. When I was little, I used to watch other people's kids a lot, and I think it's just because to me they are the coolest people, because they are so interesting and they are so complicated, right? Children are really complicated. They have really complicated emotions that you have to help to regulate, and so I just find kids super interesting. But sometimes people bring their kids and you just want them to go home. You just want them to go home now, because they're not very nice. But your children are, first of all, they are so curious, they are so funny, they are so outgoing and sweet and caring and polite, and they are tiny. One thing is when you have older kids and they are these things, but your children are tiny. They're like 2 and 4, and they are so delightful. So, I loved it. My kids, when they were little and I had to bring them places, we wouldn't go places because my kids are also delightful. And they are also lovely and they are polite and everything.
Yeah.
But they had so much energy and they were so sort of disruptive that you couldn't actually bring them anywhere. Or if you did, they had to be with very generous people, with people who had high tolerance for a lot of life. They just had a lot of life, okay? But what I got out of that was that they are the most lovely sort of adults, young adults. So there's an upside to crazy kids, but my kids were pretty crazy. Your kids are a bit more mellow, which is lucky for you.
That's the side you see.
But they were lovely, Oris. You have great.
Well, thank you. I think because I'm also an older parent. My first daughter is 21, and she'll be 22 this year.
That's
so
amazing.
She lives in LA.
Yeah, and, she sounds brilliant.
And I have to say, I was spoiled. When you have a girl the first time, everybody was looking at me going, yeah, your life is so glorious. I'm like, excuse me? They're like, I go, why? You have a girl first.
I know.
I go, what does that mean?
I think if you have an older girl first,
right?
It's slightly easier, yeah. Probably.
And they were like, you wait till you have a boy.
Yeah.
And I would get that from all dads. And when it happened, I was like, Okay, I know I was raised with a very iron fist, but I can't pull that iron fist crap in this day and age. I gotta go to jail.
Yeah.
So I had to
It's
learn.
so different now.
You get it,
can't-
right?
We don't get to like. I was spanked as a child.
Oh,
We can't do it anymore. But you know what? It doesn't even work though. It doesn't even work. That's the thing. It doesn't work.
Oh my God.
You know, anyone who thinks it works, it
Yeah.
doesn't
It doesn't.
in the end. But
yeah.
at the time, you know, it is tough sometimes with kids where they go really far, and you have to find other ways
Yeah.
of solving that. But yeah, it's tough raising kids. I think it's harder than anything else I've done,
Yes, it's
Honestly.
it's the hardest role.
but it's
I
also
think
so rewarding.
it is rewarding and the hardest role as an artist I've ever had to step in because it's 24/7. You don't get to play games.
No.
You have to keep an eye on
It's
them.
not a
because
rehearsal.
It's not a rehearsal.
Never a rehearsal.
You understand? So I've become
Yeah.
a better actor,
Yeah.
a better business-minded person because
Yeah.
now I go into meetings and I'm very like
Yeah.
real short, straight to the point.
Yeah.
I became a Norwegian and there's something a lot of people don't know about Norwegians. They are very it's okay. I've been coming in and out of this country for a long time. So for just in case people go, oh, he's new. No. I have swam this country in and out of it, stuck here in pandemic, and the consistency of you Norwegians is out of this world. You're very calm under pressure. You're very people will come and they will do the song and dance. Here, and I think me and you talked about this. Nobody cares how much you have, what you do for a living. Even the king takes the bus and the subway in this country, the king. So you're so humble when you walk into or you come into this country. You're ashamed to actually, for me as an artist, I am ashamed to literally tell people what I do for a living. They don't. It's in Norway because I am naturally the kind of guy that gets into conversations and 2 days later, the person I'm having a conversation with goes, "We didn't get our names. We just spent time talking." Do you understand where I'm coming from? When I say ashamed, not in a negative way, but you start a conversation with a Norwegian without even asking what your name is, what you do for a living.
Yeah.
And you just go down
It's funny, isn't it?
It's crazy, right?
It's really
just
funny,
like
but it's much nicer because, you know, I think a lot of times we put too much focus on what do you do? Like, why
Yes.
is that the first question?
yeah, outside,
You know,
Norway, the
like,
Nordics.
Yeah. It should instead just be sort of like, what are you into? You know, what are you in? What gets you excited? What gives you joy? You know, what makes you happy? Because me and you are lucky in that we are happy in our job, but I think there's an awful lot of people who really hate their job, especially when you're talking to like, I haven't met a single accountant who loves their job. Isn't that sad? Like, if you would think that if you liked numbers and you liked order and all of that, that it would give you like some nerdy satisfaction, right? So you got dopamine from that. But if they don't even get that, then I really don't understand why you would choose to be an accountant then, because it's like soul destroying. It's like if you watch The Incredibles, Mr. Incredible works for an insurance company and it, you know, kills him. He is so destroyed by having to work there, and
That's my favorite animation.
that's my favorite movie. That
we
movie,
watch it in this house. It's on 24/7.
It is the best movie. Like you can't beat it for storytelling. That film hits every single heartstring, every beat. You know, as a human being, it just hits all the, especially for adults, it hits all the questions and all of the sort of things that we all worry about, and what it's like to be a parent, what it's like to be an adult. It is.
And I love the reverse role when she had to go and save the world.
Yeah, the
And
number
he-
two.
And he
has to stay at home.
And that is something I can relate with, and I
Yeah.
love it. Did roles get reversed? You know, some mornings I'm like, and I'm sure you and your
We've
your
had to do that a
husband,
lot too.
you flip it around, and it's the most incredible thing sometimes, and very
Yeah.
rewarding because you, first of all, for me as a man, is like I don't want mom to come home and hear stories.
Yeah.
Mom ain't trying to hear that shit. You know, it's like, so you're
not
actually...
going to get to come over
No,
and
because
tell me off.
because when mom's around, right, the dads, we can literally just put our leg up and go, ooh.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
mom's not around, man, you're like, come on now, we got to go to school. Let's go. You know,
Like
you're
the
like,
cat's
really...
away, the mice are on the table.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Pack
yeah.
the food, make sure everything is right. But listen,
Yeah.
all that being said, wow, Lisa, I think you guys are in for a treat. Not every day that, you know, you really meet a really cool... And let it be known, Lisa is actually our first female artist of Oris and Sanctionary. It's been a lot of guys. And Lisa, whoever's going to come on this, man, they're going to have to top you. It's going to be very difficult. And I feel sorry for them because, you know, I might just be sitting there going, can we just get this going?
You're not. There are so many cool people out there.
You know.
Men
But I
and
haven't met
women.
one yet. One bad interviewer, so I'm very...
No, that's good.
You know.
That's good. You know a lot of cool people, Oris, but that's because you are a very cool dude. So
Oh, you stop it.
there you go.
So Lisa, you were born in Tromsø. Could you, for many of us, and that's like, you know, the Arctic, the circle in Norway. Maybe you could, for many people who don't know anything about the Nordics or Norway, the history of where you come from, then being born there, then how in the world you end up in Liverpool studying in one of the most incredible schools in Liverpool, thanks to Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
It's his
baby, really.
It's his baby.
Yeah, it's called the Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts.
How did you end from there? From you know, Tromsø,
Right.
and Tromsø is not like Oslo. It's
No. Yeah, I grew up above the Arctic Circle, so where I am, it's sort of similar to Canada, but it Canada and Alaska, but it gets less cold than Canada and Alaska because we have the Gulf Stream that comes up from Mexico, so that comes up the Norwegian coast. So you know, I grew up with. In the winter time, you have total darkness. It's called the dark time, mørketida. And then in the summer, you have the reverse, where the sun never goes to bed. It's up 24/7, and you have the midnight sun. And that just means that at midnight, when the sun disappears for everybody else, our sun just kind of lingers, and then it comes back up again. So it never goes past the horizon because we are so far north. So as a result of that, you grow up in the most kind of quite extreme conditions, but the most spectacular, beautiful light show in the sky, summer and winter, and it's so magical. Like the nature there, there's something really special about it, and I do feel whenever I go home that I sort of recharge my batteries. I swear that there's some energy in those mountains that's really sacred. I can't explain it any other way than that. It just feels like that to me. But anyway, so I growing up there and wanting to do what I wanted to do wasn't always so easy, because in Norway you kind of have a thing where it's like an unwritten law that you shouldn't stick your neck out. You shouldn't think you're better than other people. I agree, you shouldn't think you're better than other people, but they don't mean that. They kind of mean, don't think that you get to have ideas about who you are beyond the limits of your society. That's really what it means. And that's the same for all of Norway. So I grew up with an American mum and a Norwegian dad who had lived in America. So I had a lot of American, psychology sort of growing up. So I grew up the opposite. Like, you can be whoever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. My parents were very supportive of me. So when they realized that I was like all singing, all dancing, they signed me up for ballet. I did ballet 5 times a week. I did piano. I joined, a Tenzin choir, Christian choir. I joined, drama groups. I was like doing everything that I could to learn as much as I could, and watching, operas and ballets and anything that came into my town, we would go see. And then I studied music for 3 years for my A-levels, sort of, I guess you call it high school or college. So I studied music for 3 years, and then I did a year learning acting in Norway in a different kind of school. And then I decided that I really wanted to go to the UK to study. But typical me, I hadn't seen that all the dates for applying for England had already gone. So all the uni applications, they were already, you couldn't apply. I had missed the boat. And by some miracle, and this kind of thing happens to me a lot. By some miracle, this brand new university called the Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts that Paul McCartney had invested in. It was his old primary school. It was all the Beatles' old primary school. He had invested in. And they were still taking applicants because they were so new. So I was like, oh my God, I got to apply to this place. So I applied to that place, had my audition, loved it. And it was like, if you've seen Fame the movie or Fame the TV show, the auditions were exactly like that. And that's exactly what it felt like as well. So I came out of there, I swung around this lamppost and I was like, very dramatically, if I don't get into Lipper, then this is not meant to be. I was very overly dramatic like that. And I did get into Lipper and we were the first year. So it was so special because we got to, our inauguration day, the opening of my school had Queen Elizabeth, it had George Martin, and it had Paul McCartney. And it had like a bunch of celebrities, I don't know who they are. But it was so mental that my first sort of university experience was at this amazing place. And it was an amazing place. And because they were so passionate to make this successful, they poured love into us. So I just felt very blessed getting to go there, studying acting.
That's amazing because right after I'm listening to your story, the whole thing, and you said something about Norway being such a magical place, and I agree with you on that. Whenever I make wishes here for some strange reason, and if any of you ever get a chance to come to Norway, make wishes. I'm a big fantasist. And you guys will see where I'm going with this. It's a place where wherever I come, I make a wish. I don't know. It just happens. I can't describe it. Very strange. So whatever belief system you are part of in the world, you come to a place like Norway, and like Lisa said, it's very magical. It's a place that I look forward to come back home all the time to just take that breath of fresh air. And which takes me into this. This same energy took you through the process. You not knowing, you applying late, and everywhere you applied to was like, they were looking at you like, you missed the boat. And then all of a sudden, Lipper comes along. Then here is the kicker. And this is something I need every one of you young ones who is watching this right now to pay attention to. Lisa really pursued her dream so hard, thanks to your parents, that not even a few months after graduating from Lipper, you were cast in the lead role of Sophie in the smash musical hit in the West End of London, Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
What? That you couldn't make it up. I mean, can you give us that?
It's like a fairy tale story, honestly. Like I've had the most extraordinary life. So I had just graduated from Lipper in June. And like all actors, I went and worked as a waitress. And £2.50 an hour in London. I couldn't live on that. My parents had to help me to survive. And went to auditions, all kinds of auditions. And I wasn't getting anywhere. But by August, only a couple of months in after graduating, by August, there was an audition that came up for a brand new musical called Mamma Mia. And it was the music of ABBA. And I have grown up loving ABBA. In fact, I used to get teased because I liked ABBA because, there was a time when they weren't considered cool. Because they're so kind of clean and pure, which I don't understand how that's a problem. But never mind. And I went for the audition and got further and further. And you know what it's like with auditions. You never know when when is the end point, because they haven't, it's not like they tell you we have 8 rounds, so by the time you get to round 8 you know you're in the last bit. You don't know when you're doing this, so you have no idea where you're at on the scale. Like, are they going to stop at 4 rounds? Are they going to stop at 7? Are they, like, how far is this going to go? And in the end, it took 8 auditions from start to finish, dance, singing, acting. But I remember one day of my audition, it was right towards the end. It was one of the last ones, not the last, but one of the last ones. We had this lovely older pianist called Pete, who would play the piano, and he was so sweet to me. And he would always like wink at me, like encouragingly, because I was really young. I was like 22 when I was auditioning. No, 23 when I was auditioning. And I was more like a 17-year-old, to be honest with you. I was really young and naive. And Pete came out after we had played. Before I was going to play. And he was like, Lisa, you got this. They love you. Just go on in there, do what you've been doing. You know, you got this, Lisa. And he was so sweet. And honestly, just that one person made such a difference to me not feeling so nervous, because he really believed in me, and he was the pianist, so he heard everybody. And just, you know, it just shows the impact of a single person. And I'm sure it helped, you know. And then, yeah, I got the role, and then I had to keep it secret for a while, because I think I got cast in either September or October. I can't quite remember the timeline, but we didn't actually start rehearsal until the end of January.
Wow. So you really had to stay in shape.
Yeah.
You had to really focus your vision was clear now, so when you go to work you still had to remain tight-lipped, do your job. Did your parents know?